Yes, who do we have in the class? Any students here? All right. We'll check if we have anyone. Otherwise, whichever way we have to move on in today's class. This is the first live session of ANP506, Animal Health and Diseases. I want to, I don't know, anybody here? All right, whichever way we are moving on. Let me share my screen so we can get the business of the day started right now. Yes, I welcome every one of us to this live session of ANP506, a e-facilitation that is ongoing. This is the very first in this topic of the e-facilitation, and I know that we'll all enjoy this particular e-facilitation. Yes, my name is Dr. Abayomi Samuel Bankole from the Faculty of Agricultural Sciences, National Open University. You can always reach me on my email, my now email is here, asbankole at asbankole at now.edu.ng. Let me just try to see if I can do a point here. Yes, it's right here. Right here. All right, so let's move on. Like I said, today's topic is basic terms used in animal health and diseases. Let me move this a bit out of that place so you can see properly. Yes, let's move on. By way of introduction, to understand any topic of interest, we want to get familiar with the basic terms and concept of that topic. That's what we are here for. Now we have some objectives or learning outcomes, intended learning outcomes, and there are three of them. At the end of this topic, number one, you are to be able to define or explain some common terms used in animal health. Also, we want to know what to look out for when animals are sick, and also how to arrive at diagnosis. The basic terms we want to look at today are 5. There are more than this, but for the purpose of this class, we have 5. The first here is health. Health is wealth. Number 2, disease. 3, pathogen or infectious agent. Number 4, symptoms or clinical signs or signs or sign. Yeah. Then we have diagnosis. Now, these are arranged in such a way that you can easily understand. An animal is sick at some point, it may have a problem. You don't know what the problem is. Of course, that's the disease. Then you want to see what it is that causes that problem, that unhealthy condition. That's part of it. Then you begin to see certain signs that's showing from that disease because of the pathogen. And of course, how do you now get to resolve all these problems of disease, pathogen, and the symptoms? That is what we call diagnosis. Yes, let's go to the very first. I'll just run through this. What is health? Health is a complete state of physical, social, and mental well-being. And that is what is commonly known. You also need to know that it is not just the absence of disease. It has to be a complete state of physical, social, mental well-being of the animal. And when we say an animal is in good health, it thus goes that that animal is in a state of physical, social, and mental well-being, and not just that the animal is free of disease. Now, this means that the animal in question needs to be adequately cared for in respect to provision of water, feed, good environment, clean environment, and all of that. Yeah, see some animal, fine-looking animals, right? Yeah, this one is even eating. It's enjoying itself. That shows that this one is healthy, and all of them are looking fine here. Now, what is disease? That's the second point for today. Disease. Disease is a deviation from the normal physiological state of the animal, and this is revealed by certain changes in the animal, especially in the behavior and the appearance of that animal. In other words, an animal that has a disease will show certain abnormalities in the behavior, in the structure, and in the function of the affected animal. You can say this one is not looking, this one no look good at all. He's not looking fine. It shows that this one has a disease condition. Can't even stand up. You can see how dull looking. That's tell you there's a problem going on right here. Number three today we want to look at is pathogen. What is a pathogen? A pathogen, or an infectious agent, is a biological agent that causes disease or illness in our animal. Most often, this term is used to describe agents that disrupt the normal physiology of multicellular animals. However, unicellular animals can also be affected by pathogens. Yes. Now, there are different types of pathogens, bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoa, parasitic worms, and all of that. We'll be looking at some of them in the course of this particular course. We'll look at some of those that can affect our livestock and the kind of disease they cause. Yes. Another thing we want to look at today are symptoms or clinical signs. What are symptoms or clinical signs? Now, these are observable changes you notice when an animal is sick. Now, some of these are quite common to many diseases, while you will not always see some. They are quite specific to some diseases. Now, the common symptoms you generally will find in a sick animal include refusal to eat, we call that anorexia. Fever, you see increase in temperature. You will see weakness. Animal, you see, we just looked at one diagram just before we come to this stage of that sick animal we checked in the slide before now. Is weak, and that's why it's down like that. You see those other ones we saw initially, they were standing and they're looking fine. They're healthy. But that one where it saw, in a recumbent position is sick. It's not looking good. And of course, such animals will withdraw from other animals. They will not want to socialize, as we call it. The same thing happens to you, when you are sick, you just want to withdraw yourself. Now, the changes observed when this animal in particular is sick is a basis for what we call diagnosis. And by that means, you can determine the cause of the sickness in that animal. And that's by the way of diagnosis. Before we move on here, in the video, you have to visit the VLA and check out the video right there. There's an activity for you right there. I will not be telling you right here. You have to go there to the VLA, the virtual learning environment, download the video, and you'll see the class activity right there. There are two of them actually. Yes. So please ensure you do that. Now let's go on. What is diagnosis? This is the very last point we'll be looking at today, diagnosis. This is the art and science of determining the nature and causes of diseases. And it's also used in differentiating diseases. You want to know what is causing this disease as different from what is causing another disease. So that is diagnosis for you. And to arrive at a diagnosis, you have to get some information or fact about that animal. Now, the gathered information has to be as comprehensive as possible to arrive at what we call a definitive diagnosis. And these are all referred to as components of diagnosis. That's the information you gather. Now, you can see some people right here on your right trying to look at this animal and see what it is that is wrong with it. They are looking at maybe the stomach. This one is touching. Oh, what's happening to it there? Other one is probably taking some sample, maybe a fecal sample, and all of that. We'll be looking at some of these components or samples you can collect in a sick animal. Now, what are the components of diagnosis? Number one here is history taking. Yes, very important. You must start right here by taking the history of the animal. And history taking is gathering basic information about the sick animal, such as the identity of the animal. You want to look at the species, the age, the breed of the animal, the sex, the color of the animal. You record all of these things. Also, you want to know when the animal was first noticed to have the changes in behavior and performance. And you also want to know how long this condition has been on. Let's look at the number two component of diagnosis. Now, this is done by observing that animal itself, the sick animal itself, to see or notice any abnormality sign. And it can be done by taking temperature, want to look at the pulse rate, want to look at the respiratory rate, and so on and so forth. Now, if this is done on the farm, it can include looking at the housing of the animal, the environment where the animal is kept, and the type of feed given to the animal or the animals in general, because sometimes the disease can be incubating in some other animals that are looking healthy. At the moment, you are seeing one that is down. So you want to be sure you stick to that. Now, the last component of diagnosis we'll be looking at today is laboratory examination. And this is carried out on samples collected. I told you collect some samples during physical examination. So these samples are taken to the laboratory to analyze it and know what can be the cause of the disease we are seeing in an animal. Now, the sample collected when subjected to procedure in the laboratory is to ensure we detect the presence or absence of disease-causing agents. And that is right here on the right. You can see a diagram of some samples collected and taken to a veterinary laboratory. for diagnosis. Yes. Now, let's see examples of samples that can be collected from a sick animal. We have blood samples, fecal samples, scrapings from the screen. You have urine. You can even take organs from dead animals for pathology. Call it post-mortem examination. You can open those things up and find out. That's some people train for that. You do that in the lab and get you a good result to arrive at a final diagnosis. You can also collect some feed sample, like we said earlier. Now, laboratory examination of samples collected from sick animal is quite important in arriving at what we call a conclusive or definitive or final diagnosis. Yes. So it's very important to take the right sample so as to arrive at a conclusive diagnosis. Now, what have we done today? In summary, we have successfully considered the importance of keeping animals healthy, and I'm sure you will be able to explain by now or define some common terms used in animal health and diseases. And in addition, we have learned some general observable signs you will see in a sick animal, and the samples that you can collect for laboratory analysis so as to arrive at a definitive diagnosis. Yeah, this is where we are going to stop today. I want to implore you to always attend the class. It's very important for you. Have a good grasp of the course itself. And like I said earlier on, we are also expected to go get the video put on the VLE. There's a video I've already put there that contains this. In case you miss this class, you can go there. And also, this particular Zoom meeting is being recorded right now. So you can also download that and listen to this in case you miss out of this live session. Now, please don't forget to do or attend to your class activity. There are 2 for this particular live session or for this particular topic. So go there, get this thing. Meaning the video provided on the virtual learning environment is right there. It is important to do that. We'll assess some of these things going forward. So please ensure you go and get that done. Yes, I'm happy to meet you for the first time, and may God be with all of us till the next time. Thank you. And bye for now. Yes, thank you and bye for now. Thank you and bye for now. So we'll see next time. Bye-bye.